Welcome to Profile. My guest today is Godfrey Dyer. This is part 2 of our interview with Mr. Dyer, who is the chairman of the Tourism Enhancement Fund. Last week we talked about your childhood in Sanguinetic, that's just outside Spalding. We talked about joining the Jamaica Constabulary Force and expanding into villa management and expanding into the ownership of the Wexford Hotel. And one of your also landmark achievements as well was the venture which continues to exist to this day, perhaps the biggest reggae festival in Jamaica, I would say, Reggae Sumfest. Explain to me how that came about.
That's very interesting. Sunsplash was in Montego Bay for years. And when they come down, they use Wexford as their base. So I got close to them and all that, treated them well. For a long period, I was chairman of the Montego Bay chapter of the Hotel Association. So in touch with all the hotels, I would get complimentary rooms for them and all that. Treated them well. Time came, after a few years, the last place they had was over Freeport by Lagoon. They were there for 4 or 5 years. Lagoon was sold. And UDC, which owned it, said they will fix, which is the present Sumfest site now, for them. And they got upset and said they're not going to go to this new site. It's a swamp, it's not going to be good, and it's not going to be ready on time. This was now about 4 months before the show. So they are moving to Kingston. I was talking with somebody one day and said, look, I would love to do something, but I don't know about music and things. And I'm saying, why you don't call Mickey Morris? Because he had him put on some things on. I said, it's a good idea. Pick up the phone and I call Mickey. I said, Mickey, come and see me. I want to see if we can set up a new thing here. He came the following day with 2 other guys, Sidney Reed and another one. And we sat down and I said, look, man, we have to do something for these people. We can't leave Montego Bay like this. Let us set up something. And say, yes, well, let us work at it. And we spent about 4 hours discussing it and how we'll finance it. And I said, all right, we need to bring in some partners with funding, and we start listing names. That was how Robert Russell and Johnny Gozang, we wrote down their names and said, we'll invite them to the next meeting. So we made a list of about 12 names at the time, invited them to the next meeting in 2 days, and from that meeting we move on. And that was how it started. I became the first chairman. Mickey Morris was the executive director. He knew about music. We ran, the first year I still think was the largest amount of people that turned up. It was a massive crowd the first year. But the first and second year, we lost money. From year 3, we started making a little money.
No, but how are you convincing people to stay with you up until year 3?
No, it was a hard fight. Telling all the shareholders, and they have to put in more money. And it was hard working on them. Man, let's do it. We can do it. We can. And a couple other guys work with me. And we persuaded them. And they put in some more money. And by year 3, we stopped putting in money. It started carrying itself.
When you look back at when you consider that, what you had to go through to get it to exist up to 3 years, with people putting in money and not making it back.
It was tough.
And you look at it now.
Yes.
How do you feel when you...
Everybody now, mind you, you have a few people who want to take it over, that they started it and all that. Anything that is good has a lot of owners,
Yes.
But that's how it started. And now it's even doing better. Because we sold it about, 5, 7, 6 years ago. And this gentleman who has it is doing very, very well with it. And it's a major success. major success over the years.
So beyond the festival now, you're doing the festival, but also working with the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association.
Yes.
Also, at what point how did that involvement sort of evolve? Was it just like a natural thing that happened, or you set out and you're like, at a point, I want to do more for my community?
The Hotel Association started, mind you, it's 2 different times I was president of the Hotel Association. The first time was way back in I don't remember the year, 1982. That time I had the hotel, I bought the Hotel 77, I was right. And everybody wanted me to take over as president. And I took over as president, run it for that first year, and very successful. It was very successful. I ran and lost because it's a long story. I wouldn't go through it now. It wouldn't take it. And Butch Stewart took over from me then. And about 6-7 years later, I was called upon again to serve. And I went back for 2 years. So I've served it 1 year first, on the board always, then president again for 2 more years, and on the board until I don't know when.
So this sounds like, I'm going to go back to that question of how you find the time, but we have to take our first break on this episode of Profile. Still with me is Godfrey Dyer. He's the chairman of the Tourism Enhancement Fund. He's a former president of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, a vice president of the private sector organization of Jamaica. So many different roles. We'll be back talking not just about the career, but also about family and friendships and what keeps him going, but after these messages.